Good morning, Orod.
Good morning, Soma. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. How is the weather in Sydney? How was your long weekend?
The weather is very, very hot. It's going to be 40 degrees today.
Okay.
Uh, and the long weekend was very relaxing. What about you?
So yesterday here was 40 and today we're back to like 20 or something. So I think Sydney is one day behind.
I think so this time. Uh, not complaining though.
Yeah. No, that's good. By the way, we always talk about Kanban and we share our experiences about Kanban and stuff like that. I just today want to quickly share my experience about my back pain
Oh,
because I think that's probably common within our community, especially growing up. I think it's a very common problem that a lot of us has. So hopefully people go to gym, do stretch, yoga, Pilates, those kind of things. But what one thing I learned is headstanding.
oh wow.
So every day in the morning, I headstand for 30 seconds, and gravity actually solved my problem.
That's a very good tip. I'm not sure if I can do that, but it's a very valid point, Orod. Looking after yourself should be a priority. It should be, like putting on the expedited column, I believe, for everyone. So very good call out this
Even
morning.
if we don't expedite it, we should have a swim lane for
Then
exercise.
for
Which
exactly,
I have. I don't know if people can see here. So I have this one here for my exercise, and you can see it's empty. That means I don't do it.
that is really good.
All right. So let's back to today's topic. So I was talking to one of my friend, and he said that Kanban is only suitable and works for team with a stable workflow. So the team that has always stable and constant workflow.
Hmm.
So what do you think about this one? Do you think it's a myth or it's a fact? And if it's a myth, why do you think it's a myth?
Uh, it's definitely a myth
Mm-hmm.
because, stable workflow is a myth, I would say. In my experience working with different kind of teams, starting from like HR to marketing to software
Mm-hmm.
engineering teams, the workflow will change based on the work they are doing. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes Kanban is even a really good tool to highlight the changes and, reviewing the policies in the
Mm-hmm.
team. So I'll give you an example. So some team, like let's say if it is a marketing team, so for certain kind of work, it needs to be edited and like reviewed by someone.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not applicable to all work that they do. If it is a content which is like will be consumed internally, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have to go through the hassle of getting it reviewed by legal, by
Mm-hmm.
corporate affairs, by, the
Mm-hmm.
external services. So, but that is again, like if the work goes through the normal workflow, then it is also like causing delay and introducing waste in the system. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to understand the different kind of work a team does. And
Mm-hmm.
Kanban has a really good tool for that,
Mm-hmm.
static. So
Mm-hmm.
when you start with static, and we have spoken about static
Yeah.
like hundreds of times in our podcast. So the first step is always about, understanding the demand, the
Mm-hmm.
kind of work that you have.
Yeah.
Who is your customer? What kind of work do they want from you? What kind of services you're providing or products you're delivering? So when
Mm-hmm.
you go through that, you can always figure out that what workflow will suit them. And I might be like going a bit fast, but there
Okay.
is another thing that Kanban also has is the visualization. So when I talk about visualization, what I mean is that the power of swim lanes.
Yeah.
It's so much. I feel that sometimes that people don't utilize them in the
Mm-hmm.
right way because when you have a swim lane, you can design your workflow which kind of caters to this different kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, coming back to the question, it is definitely a myth, but
Mm-hmm.
I would also love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So before I share my experience, I agree with you, but just to kind of summarize what you said so far. So you said that workflow doesn't itself, it's not stable always and can change based on the different types of work that team has. And team can decide that this work goes to this stage or skip this stage. Depends on the type of work they do. Yeah, yeah? Is this the right understanding and right summary?
In a way, yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So no, I totally agree with you. So Kanban can have multiple different workflow, as you said, and as we explained before, workflow by itself means how work flow through the system from customer until customer demand fulfilled and the job actually is done. Different types of work can go through different stages, depends on the need. However, I understand that if we have different types of work and different types of work had different workflow, putting all the work in one table might be a little bit confusing, especially when we have a digitalized tools. If we have a, you know, physical board, we probably can maybe highlight and say, okay, this swim lane or this type of work can just skip and stuff like that. It's easier. But if we use digitalized tools because of the limitation, uh, it might be difficult or challenging. Um, Based on my experience, and this is what I normally do, is I have a board for work, not for different team or different workflow normally, unless the workflow for different types of work are significantly different. If they are significantly different, then probably makes sense to have different board. I'd like to hear your opinion about that because managing multiple board might be a little bit challenging and stuff like that. But this is what I've done. It works fine. It's not perfect, but I think back to the question. So Kanban is not just for a team with a stable workflow. If we have a stable workflow, then it's easier.
Mm,
If we don't have a stable workflow, we still can use swim lane. We can agree that's part of our policy that different types can skip. If workflows are significantly different, then we can have different boards just
mm.
to visualize it easier.
So, look, the both will depend on the capability of the tool that you are using for digitizing your board. Uh, some tools does allow you to create different swim lane with different, like workflows in it.
Hmm.
And I would again prefer to have it in one board. The only reason is that when you have that visualization, it's very powerful to gauge the capacity without even thinking about it.
Mm,
That is one like very powerful aspect of visualization, that
absolutely.
you don't have to like do all the back end work or like the extra effort to understand what's going on. You look at it, it's giving you information, it's giving you feedback.
That's right.
Now some tool doesn't allow that, like for
Hmm.
example, some of the very really popular tool will not allow you to create different workflows within the same board.
That's right. Yeah.
In that case, definitely it is like it will be useful if you have very different workflows. So you create them separately, and then, the whole team is in a way like taking ownership
Hmm.
of understanding and also be very transparent about the capacity that they have. Because
Absolutely.
let's say you and I are part of a team, you might be working on two different
Mm.
workflows, right?
Hmm.
Like, but you are again one person with limited capacity.
That's right.
So when it is part of the daily Kanban
Hmm.
standard, we should be talking about it, that when like someone is asking, hey, Orod, how are you going?
Yeah.
What are you going to pull? You need to always call out that whether like you have capacity, because one board might show that yes, you have capacity, but the other board
Yeah.
already has things
Yeah.
like with
So
you.
no, that's actually a really good point. So if we want to have separate board, because yeah, ideally we should have everything on one board and put the limit on different stages and stuff like that. So that's I think, common sense, and we all agreed. If the tool doesn't allow us, I think you raise a really good point that we need to be mindful of the capacity and make sure that people won't be overloaded.
Mm.
Another thing I wanted to say in Kanban meeting, like the daily stand-up, we normally don't ask Orod, what are you doing? We normally focus on the work, right?
Yes, we don't ask Orod, but then it is also going to be Orod's responsibility to
That's
call
right. Yeah.
because
So
that
when we want to put
added.
the, yeah, what I think what I want to highlight is if we want to add a limit on different stages, we need to be mindful that, you know, sh divide this limit across different boards. So if the limit is
Yes.
10, make sure that you put 5 on this board, 5 on another board, rather than 10 here, 10 there, you know.
Yeah.
That's another thing. But yeah, so I think we talk about this and we covered and answered this misconception. So Kanban is not only for team with stable workflow.
Well, I will tell you this as well. Like, if you think about any kind of work, any kind of knowledge works that's actually happening in all the
Mhm,
big organization, big or small, doesn't matter,
mhm,
deliver services or product. If you look at their backlog, it consists of everything, new
mhm,
feature development to bug to, production support to everything. So when you look at that, not everything will go through the same work stages. So it is consistent across whether you practice Kanban or not, because the workflows will change based on the kind of work that you are doing. So that
mhm.
is the truth and the fact that people need to understand. So it is about how you can apply Kanban practices and principles to manage that work better or your backlog better. It's about that understanding. So definitely it's a myth.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much, Soma. And thanks everyone for listening to our second episode in 2025. Is there anything else, Soma, you want to add before we finish it?
No, I would say like keep asking these Kanban questions. It helps
Lovely.
us to just share our experiences.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Soma, and thanks everyone. And we come
Thanks,
back
everyone.
next week.
Yes, take care.